My name is Margaret Chen, and I'm 58 years old. I've worked as a senior financial analyst for 25 years, earning what most would consider an exceptional salary, but my son, Daniel, never knew the exact numbers. He only saw me living in my modest townhouse, driving my 10-year-old sedan, and wearing clothes I don't for years. I raised Daniel alone after his father passed when Daniel was just 7. Money was tight back then, truly tight. I remember nights when I'd tell him I wasn't hungry so he could have seconds. Those years shaped me. Even when my career took off and my salary grew to $40,000 a month, I couldn't shake the habits. I still clipped coupons. I still bought store brands. I still found joy in simple things. Daniel grew into a wonderful man. Kind, hardworking, genuine. When he met Sarah, I was thrilled. She seemed sweet, a kindergarten teacher with a bright smile and gentle ways. They married in a simple ceremony, which I appreciated. No extravagance, just love. But I'd never met Sarah's parents. They lived across the country, and timing never worked out until the invitation came. "Mom," Daniel said one evening, his voice careful, "Sarah's parents want to meet you. They're inviting us to dinner at their place next Saturday." Something in his tone made me pause. "That sounds lovely, sweetheart." He hesitated. "Sarah's family is a broken bar. Well, they're different from us. They have money, Mom, a lot of it. Her father owns a chain of luxury car dealerships." I smiled. "That's nice for them. I just want you to be prepared," he continued, fidgeting with his watch. "Their house is big, really big, and they can be a bit of broken bar particular about things." I patted his hand. "I'll be fine, Daniel. I'm just happy to finally meet them." But after he left, I sat thinking. Something about his warning bothered me. Was he embarrassed of me, or was he worried they'd judge me? An idea formed, slowly at first, then with growing clarity. I wanted to see who these people really were, not when they were on their best behavior with someone they perceived as their equal. I wanted to see how they treated someone they considered beneath them. So I made a decision. I would play a part. I would dress simply, speak simply, and present myself as exactly what Sarah's parents probably feared their son-in-law came from. A poverty. Saturday arrived. I chose my oldest dress, a faded floral print I'd bought at a thrift store 15 years ago. I left my pearl earrings in the drawer and wore the costume jewelry Daniel had given me when he was 12. I drove my old car, its paint oxidized, its bumper slightly dented. Sarah's parents lived in Westbrook Heights, where the houses hid behind gates and manicured hedges. Their driveway alone was longer than my street. The house was a mansion, all white columns and gleaming windows. Daniel met me at the door, his eyes widening when he saw me. I could see the question in his face, but he said nothing. Sarah appeared beside him, her smile slightly strained. "Mrs. Chen, welcome," she said. "Please, come in." The interior was exactly what you'd expect. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork that probably cost more than most people's homes. A woman descended the curved staircase, her dress clearly designer, diamonds at her throat and wrists. "You must be Daniel's mother," she said, her voice cool. She didn't extend her hand. "I'm Catherine Whitmore. Please, call me Catherine." A man emerged from what looked like a study. Tall, silver-haired, with the confidence of someone who'd never worried about money. "Richard Whitmore," he said, giving me a brief handshake before wiping his palm on his slacks. I saw it, that small gesture. The judgment had already begun. "Thank you for inviting me," I said softly, making my voice smaller, uncertain. "Your home is very beautiful. I've never seen anything like it." Catherine's smile was thin. "Yes, well, we've worked very hard to build our life. Please, come to the dining room." The dinner table could have seated 20. It was set with china so delicate I was afraid to touch it. Crystal glasses caught the light from an enormous chandelier. I deliberately picked up the wrong fork. "Oh dear," Catherine said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "That's the salad fork. The dinner fork is on the other side." "I'm so sorry," I said, fumbling to switch them. "I don't go to fancy dinners much." Sarah looked uncomfortable. Daniel's jaw was tight. But Catherine and Richard exchanged a glance that spoke volumes. Throughout dinner, they asked questions. Where did I work? I said I did bookkeeping for small businesses. Where did I live? I mentioned my townhouse. In a neighborhood they clearly considered beneath them. "What kind of car did I drive?" "Oh, it's very old," I said, "but it still runs most days." Richard chuckled, a sound without warmth. "Most days. That's certainly a broken bar economical." Catherine leaned forward. "You know, Margareta, may I call you Margaret? We've always taught Sarah to value success, education, ambition, financial security. These things matter in life." "Of course," I said quietly. "We were a bit surprised when Sarah chose to marry a public school teacher." Richard added, "Teaching is noble, certainly, but it doesn't provide the kind of life we'd hoped for our daughter." Daniel's face flushed red. "Dad," Sarah said quickly, but her father waved her off. "I'm just being honest. And now, meeting you, Margaret, I understand better." Daniel came from humble circumstances. "Very humble, it seems." "No offense intended, of course." "None taken," I said, though my heart was breaking for my son, who sat rigid in his chair. Catherine continued, her voice syrupy. "The thing is, we believe in maintaining certain standards. Sarah was raised with every advantage. The best schools, European vacations, cotillion classes. We'd hate to see her struggle because of a broken bar. Well, unfortunate economic disparities in the family." "We're not struggling," Daniel said tightly. "Not yet, perhaps," Richard said. "But children are expensive. Private schools, music lessons, summer camps. These things add up. We wouldn't want our future grandchildren to miss out on opportunities because their father's family couldn't contribute." The insult was clear. They were saying I'd be a burden, unable to help with grandchildren, an embarrassment to hide. "I understand," I said softly. "I've always tried to teach Daniel that money isn't everything. Love, kindness, integrity of these matter more." Catherine actually laughed. "How quaint. But love doesn't pay for college tuition, does it?" "We've been discussing something," Richard said, leaning back in his chair. "We're prepared to help Daniel and Sarah buy a proper home in our neighborhood, of course, somewhere appropriate, but we'd need to be sure that certain a broken bar influences a broken bar wouldn't interfere with the values we want to instill in our grandchildren." Sarah's face had gone pale. "Daddy, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that we're happy to invest in our daughter's future, but we need assurances. Perhaps it would be better if family visits were broken bar limited, especially from those who might not understand our lifestyle." "They wanted to cut me out, to buy my son a house in exchange for excluding me from their lives." Daniel stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "That's enough, Mom, we're leaving." "Sit down, Daniel," Richard commanded. "We're having an adult conversation about practical matters." "No," Daniel said firmly. "We're done here. You've insulted my mother in her face, treated her like she's worthless because she doesn't have your money or your pretentious lifestyle. I don't care what you're offering. We don't want it." "Daniel, be reasonable," Catherine said. "We're only trying to help." "Help?" Daniel's voice rose. "You've done nothing but look down on her since she walked in. You judged her clothes, her car, her life. You don't know anything about her." "We know enough," Richard said coldly. "We know she raised you in poverty. We know she can't provide the kind of support as stop," I said quietly. But something in my voice made everyone freeze. I stood slowly, setting my napkin on the table with deliberate care. "I think it's time I told you a few things." I looked at Catherine, then Richard. "You're right about some things. I did raise Daniel in poverty, for a while. After my husband died, I worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. I wore thrift store clothes because every penny went to his education, his food, his future. Those were the hardest years of my life." Catherine opened her mouth, probably to make another condescending comment, but I continued. "But that was a long time ago. My career took off. I became a senior financial analyst. I'm very good at what I do. My monthly salary is $40,000. I could have moved to a house like this, bought a luxury car, worn designer clothes, but I chose not to." The silence was absolute. Richard's fork had frozen halfway to his mouth. "I chose to live simply because those hard years taught me what matters. I invested my money wisely. I saved. I donated to causes I believed in. I helped people who needed it. And I never told Daniel the exact figures because I didn't want money to define him. I wanted him to understand the value of work, of earning your own way, of treating people with respect regardless of their bank balance. I turned to Catherine. You asked about contributing to grandchildren's education. I have a college fund set up that would cover 4 years at any Ivy League school, with enough left over for graduate degrees. I have investments that would make your car dealerships look quaint. But I would never, ever use money to control my son's life or exclude people I deemed unworthy. Richard had gone pale. You a broken bar, you have $40,000 a month. I do. And I came here tonight dressed as I did, acting as I did, because I wanted to see who you really are. Daniel warned me you had money. He was nervous about us meeting. I wanted to understand why. Now I do. I looked at Sarah, who had tears in her eyes. Your parents are snobs. They're bullies who use their wealth to demean others. They tried to buy my son and exclude me from my future grandchildren's lives. And they did it all while thinking I was too poor and too naive to understand what they were doing. Margaret, Catherine started, but I held up my hand. I'm not finished. Here's what's going to happen. Daniel and Sarah will make their own decisions about their life, their home, and their children. If they want our help and mine or yours, they'll ask for it. But there will be no conditions, no manipulation, no using money as a weapon. I picked up my old purse. And if you ever, and I mean ever, treat someone with disrespect because you think they have less money than you, I will make it my personal mission to teach you the kind of lesson you won't forget. Because real poverty isn't about bank accounts. It's about poverty of character. And tonight, you've both shown yourselves to be utterly bankrupt in the ways that actually matter. I turned to Daniel. Sweetheart, I'm going home. Call me tomorrow. I walked to the door, my old thrift store dress swishing, my costume jewelry glinting in the chandelier light. Behind me, I heard Catherine's voice, shrill and desperate. Wait, Margaret, please. We didn't know. I turned back one last time. That's exactly the point. You didn't know. You didn't ask. You just judged. You do that to everyone you think is beneath you. Everyone who doesn't meet your standards. Richard had found his voice. We made a mistake. We're sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry you were wrong about me? The truth was written on both their faces. I left them standing there, and drove home in my old car, to my modest townhouse. And I felt richer than I had in years, because I knew something they'd never understand. Kindness costs nothing, respect is free, and the measure of a person has nothing to do with the size of their house or the price of their dress. It has everything to do with how they treat others when they think no one important is watching. And at dinner, it taught them a lesson they desperately needed to learn, one about assumptions, cruelty, and the price of arrogance. Sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate or dramatic. Sometimes it's just the simple, devastating truth.